Good evening and welcome to you. Thank you for joining me tonight, this evening. Unusual 6 p.m. show. I've got a wonderful guest lined up for you today. Tendai Beast Mtawarira, a formidable rugby player. He has more than a decade playing rugby in the top flight arena. 3 Currie Cups, 1 Tri-Nation, 1 Rugby Championship, 1 World Cup medal, a British and Irish Lions series win, the most capped Super Rugby South African. Wow, what a guy. He's with us today. Before we go any further, today's episode is proudly brought to you by Henley Business School. Henley Business School is the third year in a row recognized the best business school in South Africa, the 24th best executive education school in the world, and the highest ranked business school in Africa. Tendai is busy with his postgrad diploma on his way to his MBA with Henley Business School. And if you would like to know anything about furthering your education, contact Henley Business School. My name is Alex McPhail, and this is High Performance Teams. Tendai, how are you doing today?
No, good in yourself, Alex.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time on this chilly evening to join me on the show.
No, it's such a pleasure, man. Thanks for inviting me on.
So just before we connected just now, you said that you're busy with your postgrad studies, and I asked you, and I'll repeat it for the listeners. Remember, folks, this is a live show. It's your show. Ask your questions. Is doing postgrad diploma work more intense than a gym workout for the Springboks? And what was your answer?
No, definitely way tougher than doing a gym session or training on the field, man. My brain is expanding, so it's like, yeah, crazy, but it's good fun.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to kick off straight to the beginning of this because it's just such an awesome opportunity to make everyone sit on the edge of their seats. Once more, let's just watch this little clip. Certainly that commentator getting as excited as the rest of South Africa. Oh, it brings back great memories, and I could watch that over and over and over. Beast, how do you feel? I can see the smile on your face, but how do you feel when you just hear that commentator and watch those scenes?
No, it's really special, and I'm getting goosebumps as I'm sitting here because I can tell you for a fact, all the emotions that we went through as a team, and that in those final moments of that game, it's pretty stressful probably to a certain extent, because we were thinking England might come back, and I was on the bench in the last 35 minutes or so I was sitting there just biting my fingers, and then next thing when Chesley scored that final try, I couldn't sit down. I was running up and down, just celebrating, and it was such a special moment. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. This conversation is probably going to jump around a bit. I normally like a bit of a structure, but seeing as we're kicking off on such a high, I just wanted to share my experience. Airline pilots have to be in the simulator twice a year just to maintain your proficiency in the job, and you get tested on the systems. I had to go into the simulator on the day that you guys are playing in the final. We managed to delay it a little bit. So dressed and ready for the simulator, watching till the final whistle, till the trophy, in the car, racing off to work. And that's how I had to now face one of the toughest days of the year at work, having celebrated all the way, driving into the office, into that simulator. But what a day. What a day. And I want to show you a picture now, because the next day I went off to France, and I had to go and do some training on an Airbus. And on the local little paper, the local paper in Toulouse, the front page full spread on the Monday morning is this photograph, and it's you guys with the trophy, and it's celebrations all around, and it was just such a wonderful scene. Cheslin's from the area; he's a hero there. It was just, even though we now left the country the next day after the World Cup, we continued in the celebrations in France, and it was just really special. Your final game playing top flight rugby.
Wow, incredible in a way to finish my career. I think it was always a dream of mine, to end on the highest of highs. And at a particular stage in my career, it didn't look like it was going to be possible. Especially in 2016 and 2017 when things were tough for the Bokke, but. I just, went on to work and just gave it everything I got. And then next thing, my dream came true. So, man, I still kind of get, like I said, goosebumps, up to this day, when I watch the final, like, was that really my last game? Kind of makes me want to go back.
Sure. Well, it's good to leave with that hunger as well. So let's just bring it back a little bit to kind of your sort of your youth and the formative years where rugby was on the horizon for you. So walk me through your thoughts. Watched some of your other interviews recently, and you said that you decided to venture off south and go and find a rugby career, much to your parents' either disappointment or suggesting otherwise. What were your thoughts at the time as a young man about to give it your all?
No, as a young man, I was very ambitious. I had this really strong belief in myself, and I think my mom played a huge role in that. She really gave us a lot of confidence growing up, me and my siblings. So when I discovered that I was pretty good at rugby, whilst I was in Zimbabwe, I really believed that I could take this further. And obviously in Zimbabwe, there's an opportunity to pursue a professional career. So I knew that I had to come down south. So eventually I got a notice on a tour with my school by a couple of scouts of the Sharks, and then I was impressed with what they saw. They offered me a bursary and a scholarship to come and study and play rugby. So this was like a dream come true for me. And I went back home because I still had to finish my A levels. And then I told my dad that this is what's up. I found this great opportunity, and I want to go and pursue a professional rugby career. And my dad was like a bit against it, because he didn't know no better. He's an academic, and he kind of thought, hey, I want my son to go the same route I kind of took, so I was defying the odds and going a totally different route. So he didn't give me his full support, but it wasn't because he was spiteful or anything, but it was just that he didn't really understand. So, in the end, I made it my mission to kind of, show him that I was going to make this work and make this a success, and kind of left home with only a few items belonging, in my name and a couple of $1,000, and that was it, between me and everything. So I kind of just went there with just a dream and solely, dedicated everything, my passion, my hard work, and then in the end I realized my dream, which is pretty incredible.
Okay, all right. So I want to zoom into a couple of the things that you said there. Obviously, that first being spotted is a great thing, and that's a checkbox to say, well, you're displaying symptoms of being good enough, but that's only to get you in the door. Then once you're through that door, you have to now prove yourself in that smaller pool of people in the Sharks Academy, and from there you sort of go from strength to strength. But tell me about that time. I mean, so there's no secret that you're from Zimbabwe and that you've taken on the nationality. But tell me about that time and the pride and the feeling of playing for the Springboks for the first time, because it is something that you watch, knowing it's a top flight team across the border, and you didn't have that opportunity in Zimbabwe. But what was that like, being capped for that first game?
It was truly special. And I think, growing up in Zim, I really looked up to guys like Gary Touchman, Oz Durant, guys I used to watch when I was in school. So it was kind of drilled in me, at such a young age to support the Bokke. So, when I came over across to South Africa, I knew that, my, kind of ultimate dream was to play international rugby and represent the Springboks. So when that opportunity came in 2008, I think it was on the 14th of June against Wales in Pretoria. I can tell you, it was surreal, man. I was a young 22-year-old, kind of still trying to find myself, on the big stage, and got thrown into this, big opportunity with so many great names around me: Victor Matthew, Bucky's Boy, Brian Abana. So, it was like, surreal. I had to pinch myself that I'm actually in this environment. And, I felt so much pride singing the national anthem, and just felt like, I was part of the brotherhood. I was an accepted son now, in South Africa, and, pretty much just felt like, proudly South African, when I played my first game.
Oh, that's great. But again now, so it's not one of those things that you go through the door and now you're a Springbok and forevermore you're a Springbok. I had a great chat with Andre Snyman, late 90s, early 2000s, once you're in that Bok camp and you're playing regularly, you've got the number on your back now, and you become a target for those people who are trying to get that spot. So now, tell me about the sense of that you might have to work a bit harder to just maintain where you are. What is the change in the sort of thought process or your approach to the professionalism? You've got the job, but now you must continually prove yourself.
Yeah, no, I think it's a constant kind of challenge for yourself to improve, because at first you have the dream to become a Springbok, and then you work so hard to get there, and then eventually you get to make your debut, and it's special, and everybody is congratulating you. And then now you play a couple of tests, 10 tests or so, and then you actually realize that I want to play 50 games with the Springboks. And then you that's how you set your goals. And then there's other guys that are trying to take you out. So for you to stay there, to remain at the top, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot more. A lot more than them. You're going to have to dig deeper, and you're just going to have to show ultimate professionalism in everything you do. So I think that's something I pretty much discovered in my early on in my ball career, because I played about 15 tests or so, and then I kind of got a little bit complacent, and thank God that I had really good mentors around me. So a guy by the name of Mark Steele, he was our trainer at the Sharks. He kind of saw that I was, getting off task and cutting corners and kind of getting comfortable. And he set me down, probably the best advice I ever got in my career. And he told me that, Beast, if you go on this path, I can tell you for a fact you are going to play at most, 25 or 30 tests, and you're going to be forgotten. You're not going to last long. He gave me that reality check. I didn't enjoy it in the moment. I was kind of, sick, but it was the best advice I ever got. It forced me to really look at myself and constantly challenge myself. And I made that the foundation of my ball career, that I'm going to constantly improve and just work harder than ever to keep on getting better in my fitness tests and keep on getting better in my work rate and on the field. Just keep on perfecting my scrummaging. So, I just paid so much attention to my game, and that's how I kind of, ended up playing 50 games. And then before I knew, I was playing 100 test matches. So it was all because of that decision I made early on in my career that kept me, there for so long.
Okay, it's nice to have those people in your life as well that pull you aside and say, hey, the fruits of that labor has certainly showed. I think you're the only player in the world playing in this level of rugby that when you catch the ball, they call your name. I don't know any other player that gets their name shouted out every time you touch a ball. That's a wonderful achievement. I'm not sure if they're trying to scare you off the ball or cheer you on, but certainly it seems the whole world knows your name, and that's not a bad thing at all. Tell me a bit about the work rate and the process that you went through, because the way I see the high-performance teams, and certainly the Springboks of 2019 and hopefully continuing for a while still, is the ultimate in high-performance units. The principle of incremental gains, and just to make that self a little bit better each day. Was there a sense of guys, we can just improve a little bit here, a little bit there, and every day just a bit better, that you're looking at yourself and not worrying about the other people out there, but how do you look at your game today so that tomorrow you're just a little bit better?
I think, just going back to 2018, when Russia came in, I think it was one of his biggest focus points, to get everybody to continuously improve. He came in with this vision of us winning the World Cup, in 2018, and I can tell you probably 99% of the world didn't think it was possible for us to turn it around in the way we did, and eventually win the World Cup. So he said that, we have to pay attention to our own job description field. And we have to, be able to consistently perform, at our best, in test matches, and obviously head on to the team being successful. So for especially at test match level, the margins are so small. So if one guy is off his game by 1%, that's a missed tackle, and it's going to end up in a try, and it's going to end up, in the whole team losing the game. So everybody has to be switched on, you have to, pay particular, attention to detail and make sure that, through the week before test match, you analyze, your opposition, all those things that are going to make you that much better. So he came in and he drove that into us. And this example was obviously probably not really the nicest, because he kind of said the Irish were so professional, and he kind of, he was coaching Munster, so he kind of used them as an example. So as a rugby player, because of pride, you don't really want to be compared to Ireland, but it was the fact of the matter is that Ireland were producing the goods. I think at the time they were, I think, close to number one behind the All Blacks, and they've only got like probably not even a third of the players we have in South Africa, but they were able to consistently produce the goods on the field. It's because they were ultimate professionals, and everybody took accountability for their own roles in the team. So he brought that and drove that into us, and then everybody just bought into it. And then we started looking at those 1% as improving every single time, and then eventually everybody started putting up huge performances consistently, and that's how we were able to win the World Cup, and shock the world.
Yeah, it was wonderful to experience. It just it felt like a sense of building. Tell me about that. Okay, well, we can spend the next while on specifically the World Cup. You guys are the first to arrive, but you go down against the All Blacks in that first game. Is that a boost in a way, because you can do more, or how did the next few days play out after that first game?
I think it was quite scary. I don't want to lie to you, man. I can tell you, it was a bump in the road, because we got there. We played Japan in that warm-up game, and everything was going really well. We won the championship, so we were on a huge, high, and positive about everything that was happening. And then first game of the World Cup is always kind of confident. So we really wanted to win that game, and we paid a lot of attention to it. We spoke about it a lot, and then here we were on the losing end of it. And I remember in the changing room, Rassi just said, to the boys, because we were a bit down, and everybody was doubting now, can we still achieve this dream? Can we still win the World Cup? And then Rassi was like, we are going to win this World Cup. We are going to. He just drove that belief. He's like, we obviously made a couple of mistakes today, and I know exactly where we can improve on, but do not doubt. I'm telling you, we are going to win this World Cup. And that was his message the whole time. So when a coach is so confident, he just rubs onto the player. So after that game, we obviously did our analysis, and we saw where we went wrong, and then we just paid attention to those points that we were weak at, and then worked on them very hard. And there was a lot of positive talk. Nobody was negative. And then we just started going on this path of winning the next 3 games, and then we beat Namibia convincingly, and then we started relying on our strengths, which is our set piece. We obviously bullied guys to the ground, use our physical abilities, of which at test match level it's important, that if you pin your opposition in the corner, then you can get a lot of rewards. So that's what we did. We literally got Italy on the guillotine, because they didn't expect us to kind of physically bully them like we did. So I think we used our strength to our abilities, and then we just kind of won that way.
I want to back up a little bit. So after that game, you dejected, and it's great to hear that such a positive influence, for Rassi, the way he's speaking, his body language, I'm sure he's communicating. You guys are down, I will pick you up, because you can do it. But so high performance teams, to deliver in the greatest arenas, such as where you guys are at there, you prepare well, you deliver with precision, but then the third step is to review. So you talked about analyzing. What does the review process look like for the Springboks? What do you do? I mean, obviously there's not a whole lot that happens that evening, but tomorrow or the next day, whenever it is, what does review look like for the Springboks? You lose against New Zealand. What do you do?
Now, review is a big part of our planning process, our preparation. So, especially at test match level, you really have to watch watch your game, review it, and see where you went wrong for you to improve. You visually have to see that. So, Sunday was always like our review day. You get the game downloaded on your laptop. Every player had a laptop, and then you kind of watch your work rate around the field. You watch your specific stats, and then you watch the mistakes you made, and then you sit with different coaches on Sunday evening. You can just kind of take things whoever you want to see, the defense coach, and say, can you help me out on this? And then it was like a huge requirement for Springbok, prior to winning the World Cup, that Rassie was saying to the boys, you have to kind of drive this thing, take ownership, and watch your video and then improve on it. So we paid, we kind of, paid a great deal of attention to it, and then got better, at it over time. And then, it became a part of who we were. And then, so pretty much Sundays that, Monday is also, review day. And then Tuesday is probably preparation on the following game and watching videos on your opposition that is coming up.
Okay, and I'm fascinated with a bit of the detail on it. So Sunday, you're all sitting in a kind of a lobby, and are the coaches wandering around, and you go to them, or is it up to the individual to spend 3 hours on the laptop and then half an hour with this coach and half an hour with this group, or how does it physically play out on a Sunday?
So usually on Sundays, that's when we travel. So especially in Japan, I think every Sunday, we did play a couple of Sunday games. We traveled on Monday, but usually Sunday is a travel day. So you're on the train for about 3 to 4 hours. So they make sure that you get the game, early morning. So you're watching your videos, you're watching whatever, and then on the train you can literally go across to see the coach.
Sit next to the coach.
Yeah. Okay. Sit next to the coach, show him footage, and then ask him questions.
Okay, that sounds interesting. I imagine maybe a Springbok team of 20 years ago, and you tell them, no, we each got a laptop, and we each just watched the game on our own, and we made notes, and this modern technology. Is there any specifics? I mean, do you get tailored footage, or do you all get the same footage?
You get your own stats, which are unique to yourself, and then you get the whole game. So you have to watch the whole game, and then even give pointers on, facets of play that you were not involved in, but you think you saw something that we can improve on. So watching the whole game was like mandatory.
Okay. Now, I watched a couple of the different these locker room footages around the time when when Rassie was talking to someone on YouTube at the moment, and just the way he was speaking, he inspires confidence. But he says, "I'm not interested that you get into 50 skirmishes and win 45. I want you to get into 100 and win 80. Talk about that kind of approach to giving it your all, until you're spent, and then you're done, and then you celebrate it, rather than being seen as a sub."
No, that's that was actually a great point. He kind of brought it across, because the fact of the matter is that when you become a Springbok, you want to stay at the top. So you start getting a culture where guys don't want to make mistakes on the field. Guys literally go on the field and then they perform, and they kind of won't put themselves, into positions where they're likely to make mistakes. So his whole drive was that I need you to go out there and not be scared to make mistakes. Go out there and put yourself in as many battles as possible. If you do lose, 20, you should have put yourself in 150 battles. You should have thrown yourself into much more, because I'm never going to judge you on the perfection of your stats. If I'm going to see the effort that you're actually putting in. Are you kind of exhausting yourself? So that was his whole thing. That's why he kind of used to substitute the guys early on in the second half, because his whole thing was that in the first half, I want the guys that are starting to throw themselves in as many battles as possible and exhaust yourself. And then I bring in fresh legs early on in the second half, and these guys can do the same. That was his whole mentality. So that guys didn't have to think like, if I drop a ball, if I make, if I make the knock on the field, then I don't feel like, the coach is going to drop me next week because I made that mistake. So he would say that, go again, even if you drop the next one, keep on going until, you eventually get it right, the more you do it. That was his whole thing.
Okay, now I put this picture up here, and this is at the end of it. This is where you've spent now, and the term that came out, the bomb squad's coming in now. And what a wonderful thing. Clearly you look tired there, but there's a whole extra row of back of people that can take over and pick up where you left off. And I think it's been widely spoken about. Tell me about your experience of giving your all and sometimes going off after 45 or 50 and not doing more minutes, but your bit was done.
Yeah, I think it was probably a mental shift for me, because early on when I played for the Springboks, I usually used to play 80 minutes, and my goal was always to kind of save myself to make sure that I lost the whole 80 minutes. But now Rassi came and said, hey, make sure that you put yourself in as many battles as possible and exhaust yourself, because I will replace you come the 45th minute. That was his whole thing, especially with the front row. He knew that up front in the scrum, the amount of pressure and the amount of energy that you exert is a lot. He knew that your legs usually feel quite tired, after scrummaging so much, just after the second up, begins. So his whole kind of mentality was to always substitute the front row 45 minutes. So it kind of just gave me that that mentality to go hard from the start. I didn't have to reserve any energy. So, I would go, ballistic, from the first down, push as hard as I can. And then by the 45th minute, I probably wouldn't feel my neck or my back,
Okay.
I've been going so hard.
Now, he said also at one of these briefings that I managed to listen to that he has ways to watch. Was it technical, or was it just that he notices your body language? Did he have some piece of equipment, or was he just watching you and knew how you operated?
No, he knows your body language. So you try to study every player. You try to kind of study every player and see, like, when you're done, when you're exhausted, then you would, sub him. So sometimes you would even do it in the first half. As long as you show signs of, of tiredness, exhaustion, then you could be on your way out. So it was very important. You kind of, look like you still got a lot of gas in you. So that was his whole kind of mentality.
Well, it certainly seemed to work. And I want to touch on a couple of things here. So now you've got, you've had some great opportunities in your time. You've had phone calls from all sorts of people, from the president, from the former World Cup winning captain, wishing you well on your, I think it was your 100th cap, from Trevor Noah. What is it like when you get these people coming into your life, like the president joining you for the trophy? What does that mean to you guys when you see him in the jersey coming down like President Mandela did before?
It's so humbling and yet so inspiring. In the same sense, you get this great figures coming amongst you to celebrate your success, or just try being a part of the journey. It just kind of resonates on us, and it kind of just gives us energy to go to what we want to do. And I think when the president showed up that morning before the final, he didn't put any pressure on us. He was just like, go and play your hearts out, give it your best. Know that the country is supporting you fully, and they believe in you. So just go out there and give it your utmost best. So that was probably the best thing for us, not to go and win at all cost, and kind of put a heaviness or burden on the guys. You kind of just made us relax, and that's why we were able to just go through the day and build up this amount of energy that we kind of obviously showed in that game. So yeah, it's always great to have inspirational figures coming to inspire the team and inspire the Springboks.
So you've had John Smith giving you a nice message, Trevor Noah giving you a message, the president giving you a message, but then this looked a little bit unexpected, although it did it, really. Let's have a look at this clip. So Prince Harry shows up. But you look like old mates there. Are you friends of his?
I wish.
Yeah.
No. Just on behalf of the Springboks, just want to welcome you into our change room, Prince Harry. It's a massive honor to have you in our presence, and we're all big fans of you. And I hope the family's well, Megan and baby Archie. We've been watching the news, and we're proud of you. And if you want to have a few words to say to the boys, it would be a massive honor.
Sorry. You might just wait for you. Without the cameras, maybe. Guys, sorry to ruin the party briefly, but congratulations. That was outstanding. I genuinely think that rugby has the ability to unite everyone around the world, and I could not think of a nation that needs it more than you guys right now. On that, well done.
Certainly looked like awesome scenes there, and I love France's little chirp there. That's for making us wait. It looked like, even though you've got royalty in the family, people can let their hair down and he can join in the joke. Tell us about that time where you get Prince Harry walking into the change room.
No, it was, pretty crazy to get the Prince, coming over, especially, after his team was, had lost. We all know that Prince Harry is a big rugby fan and big English supporter. So, it was very nice of him to come and congratulate us. And I think, we were told that he's coming probably about an hour before he showed up. So the boys were just waiting there. And then Faf put on his budgie smugglers, speedos. And then, everybody was, kind of waiting for him with a couple of beers. And, when he eventually showed up, the boys were ready for him. But it was such a cool experience. And I got to introduce him. And, he's such a nice, humble guy. And you wouldn't think he's royalty.
Yeah, and I know he's a big sports fan. Never mind being a big fan of the English team that day. In general, he's big into sports with the veterans as well. Yeah. But what a mix! Here's the World Cup winners. Some guys are dressed with bandages around their heads. Some guys are in speedos. It just must have been a crazy sight for the Prince to walk into. But it seemed like he hang out a bit. Did he have a beer with you once the cameras left?
Yes, he did. He did. Nah, he caught up with all the other guys. He literally spent a few minutes chatting to everybody. He was just so humble and easy to approach. He didn't have to say, Your Highness or anything. So the boys were like, hey, please, you want a beer?
Oh, not every day you get to hang out with the Prince like that and chase him around your change room. Oh, wonderful. Sure, wonderful. And to cap it all off, this is your last professional game. At that point, had you already decided this would be your last game, or were you going to decide how it went on the day?
No, I'd already decided. My wife knew about it, and then a couple of close mates knew about it, and I spoke to Eben. I told him, and then also one of my great mentors, Barbarian, CEO of Fidelity. We kind of spoke, and I told him that this is possibly my last game, and I'm going to give it everything and make sure that I throw the kitchen sink and have no regrets. So, it kind of worked out perfectly, because, I wouldn't have wanted to end on a loss.
And a second place just doesn't sound as good. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, but so now you're in a new chapter of your life, and I know your wife is busy studying as well, or she may be completed by now, and you're now engaged in some further studies as well. And how's that going? What is the sort of vision for you? Your father's an academic. Are you going to go all the way with the studying as well, or is this just something to get your teeth stuck into while you don't have to run around on the field?
No, this has always been a dream of mine to, get back to my academics. Earlier on in my career, when I was at the Sharks Academy, enrolled for BCom at University College, and everything was kind of going great. And then in my second year, I got picked to play for the Sharks, and then I had to, park my studies because life got really busy, on tours and obviously, training at a professional level. So I kind of sacrificed my studies. So it was always a dream of mine to get back at it. So, when I knew that this was, kind of the end for me, from a rugby point of view, I paid a lot of attention to kind of, which studies I want to get into, and I, spoke to my mates. A really good friend of mine is based in London, and he told me about the MBA. He told me about, Henley Business School and how reputable they are, and that would be a great, foundation for me to start my business career. So, I pretty much knew, before the World Cup. I even went to go visit the Henley Business School before we went to Japan, because I wanted to inquire, to see how the facilities are and everything. So it was always kind of, a passion. So now that I'm eventually doing it, it's very challenging, but I know that, it's going to, pay dividend in the long run. So, there's a lot of assignments and a lot of, 8-hour lectures, and, my head is exploding, but, I know that it's going to, it's going to propel me to be successful, because I want to run my own company and become as successful in the business arena as I was on the rugby field, yeah.
Are you still keeping up with your fitness? I imagine it hasn't completely been parked, but certainly you would take a big break on the high impact stuff. What is your fitness routine now? How does your sort of a typical day work for you at the moment, Tendai?
So at the moment, cycling is my thing. I've always kind of had a big love for for the bike. I used to cycle a lot early on in my career, so now I've kind of made it my training routine. And usually in the mornings, I wake up at about 6 and jump on the bike, and then I have a weight session. So I like to lift weights. I've always kind of enjoyed that, lifting heavy weights. So just to obviously make sure that I keep my my shape, because the fact of the matter is that when you stop playing rugby, you can let go easily, because I've got a big appetite, and I love food, so I have to make sure that I train and keep a good shape.
Okay, that's good. Good to keep. And are you a 5 days a week, 7 days a week type of trainer?
I'm a 3 day, yeah.
Okay. 3 days. That's good, right. Nice to mix it up. Well, I want to put a picture up here of a friend of mine sent me earlier today. And her words were, when you were getting on a flight to Zim a while ago, you looked in the cockpit and you said, there's a girl pilot. And you asked her for the photograph. So there's to Annabelle and to CJ. And she said this photo with me in the cockpit there. Yes, there's lots of girls in the cockpit, and lots and lots, and they're doing a great job too. You must have seen lots of cockpits.
Yeah, I have, and I remember this moment. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think, Annabelle, she was so sweet. She's like, "Come in, let's take a picture." And I might have probably thought that she's American, and then she told me no, she's African because of her accent.
Yeah, no. We were on the pilot's course together, so since '99 is representing here. Thank you, Annabelle, for that photograph. Just a couple of more questions for you, Tendai, and then I'll let you go. It's been great chatting with you. What would you tell your younger self, knowing what you know now, as a youth setting out into this world? What advice would you give yourself?
I would have kind of probably advised myself to not have any negative relationships, or bad influences, in my life. I guess for a little while, I kind of learned the hard way that, people have got not, innocent intentions all the time, and, to just kind of rely too much on people and just on myself. So probably that's maybe the only advice I'd kind of give to myself. Yeah.
Okay. And then for you, you've been part of a high performance team, and I have no doubt you will be again in the future. What is your top tips to create that high performance team?
I think my top tips, to create a high performance team is firstly to have a common goal and or common goals, and make sure that everybody works towards those goals. And then, first from the foundation, make sure everyone buys into the goals, and there's synergy, and everybody in their own capacity to take accountability, responsibility over their own work, and just have a sense of pride about what they do, and then drive the standards of excellence. So maybe in a nutshell, that's what I would say.
Okay, it's good. I know you're big on goal setting. Write it out and look at it regularly. Couple of the viewer questions coming through for you, Tendai. So Nick wants to know, do you still have anything to do with rugby, and do you ever go back to Zim and visit your school where it all began?
Yes, I still have a lot to do with rugby. One of my other passions is grassroots. Grassroots rugby. I want to coach and mentor young players, and just kind of teach them how to be professional from a young age, and just give them advice about technique that they need to have to kind of make it in rugby, and specifically in the front row and in the forwards. That's where my main focus will be, because I can't really advise the wings how to step like Chesley did.
Thanks. Okay.
Sorry. Then on the second part, yes, I do go back home and visit my old school, and I'm very passionate about my old school. So yeah, I'm always there, back and forth. The last time I was there was last year.
Okay, great. Hayden's asking, one of the best plays of the tournament was the wedge in the 55th minute of the final. How was the decision made on when to use it, and what factors do need to be in place for that to become an option?
The wedge. Oh, the kick.
Maybe you want to just clarify, Hayden, but I think he's talking about bunching a whole bunch of players together and driving forward in a wedge shape.
Oh, that's a driving move. I see what he's saying. Yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. That was when Dwayne got the ball, and then we set up just a more, and then the England players collapsed it, and we got a penalty. That was always kind of a tool we had in our armory, and we kind of worked on it for most of the World Cup, and we planned to use it early on, but we never did. But when we used it, it worked the first time, so it was good to get reward there.
Okay, cool. Another question for you: what made the beast forever a Sharky? How is it that you spent your whole career so loyal to the one place? Very unusual in sort of pro sports.
Yeah, no, it is a fact. It is very unusual. I had temptation, I can tell you, for probably a few times in my career, and then the biggest temptation I got was in 2015 after the World Cup, when I got an offer from a French club, and almost left. But